Hi, this is James Headley, and I'm welcoming you back to the Living in Naples channel. Earlier this week, I was fortunate to assist some repeat clients with the sale of their home, one of the homes in Naples. Despite what you may be seeing and hearing about the slowdown in the housing market in national news reports and even beyond my often repeated phrases of stabilization and the new normal in terms of pricing levels, we were able to secure multiple offers on their home and sell it for above the asking price, exceeding my seller's expectations. Today I'm going to talk about some of the factors that I believe allowed us to do that, and this is certainly not a one-off. But every home, every sale, and perhaps most importantly, every client's situation is different and unique. So this is in no way a guarantee of similar results for you, but I think that ensuring that you are giving yourself every chance to have the best result possible when you decide to sell your home increases the odds of you actually doing so by a significant margin. As always, thank you so much for liking, subscribing, and sharing. And now on to my 6 keys for selling your home at the best price possible. First, make sure that you're doing the basics well. Professional photos, an actually engaging and informative description of the property that goes beyond the basics. All of those types of things are relatively easy to do well, at least in my opinion. So ensure that you are getting the blocking and tackling right, because the impact can certainly be significant. As just one example, I can tell you when I'm working with buyers and we see iPhone photos, for example, just to pick out one example of a listing, typically a little darker, maybe not as representative of the home, we feel like we're probably going to be going in a little bit better bargaining position simply because that listing is not going to be as attractive, not going to pop as much for other buyers, and so the audience of potential purchasers is going to be a little bit smaller. Again, just one example. Brings us to number 2. And that's to make sure that everyone that should see your home sees it and sees it in the best possible light. So what I'm talking about here, there's often the professional photos coming soon as a line in a new listing, and pre-listing office exclusives. These are just a couple of examples of things that I just don't think are in the best interest of a seller. You only get one chance to make a good first impression. And it's more, so I would say, an example of the office exclusive listing, is it more likely that my office colleagues have a buyer that is going to make the best offer versus hundreds or even thousands of other agents and or millions of unrepresented buyers who are out there searching on Zillow, Realtor.com, etc.? Just don't think there's any downside to ensuring that the most possible people that could be interested in your home have an opportunity to see it and consider it. That brings us to number 3. And here it's, do more than just the basics. I'll give you one example, and that's YouTube. You're here and you're viewing this video, and there are a lot of others who are doing so as well. So getting that exposure out there for your home, getting that exposure out there for the community that you're selling in, all of those types of things. Just one example of marketing that goes above and beyond the basics that basically any agent, even a limited service agent, could and should be able to do for you, including the first and second point. So evaluate what might else be added to that mix to help to get your home sold at the best possible price. That brings us to number 4. With 4, this is related to the third point. Make sure that you are doing what sells homes today at top dollar, not what did so years ago or what's flashy. For example, in this case, digital versus print. A beautiful brochure for your home may not always be an appropriate marketing tactic. Think about homes that you've gone to see. When did you see a brochure? You saw a brochure when you came into an open house or when you went to a showing. Well, at that point, you're already in the home. You're already seeing it. It's much better to see it live, and you're going to get a much truer representation. You're probably going to make a decision in almost every case, if not every case, based upon what you're actually seeing in the home versus what's on a 5-page brochure. So that's just one example. Another example on that is marketing outside of the immediate area. I mean, it's one thing to look at a possible option for listing your home that has a real focus and presence just within a specific community. But is the buyer and is the best buyer out there for you going to come from one of your neighbors? Or is it more likely that it's going to come from someone else moving into your area? That can have a can be significantly different depending upon the nature of your community, the nature of where you live. But I can tell you from a resort type of place like Southwest Florida, chances are probably better that you're getting someone who's coming to the area for the first time. So make sure that exposure and reach is out there for those folks, rather than someone who's just down the street who might be interested. They'll find it regardless. It brings us to number 5, and here it's about negotiating, and it's about the ability to negotiate. Make sure that the experience and background of whoever is representing you is something that you can feel comfortable and confident in their ability to effectively represent your interests and work to get you the best possible result at the end of those sales negotiations that are almost inevitable. Part of that can also be just a related point. Is the agent overworked? Is the agent overtaxed? Or are they taking on a limited number of clients who can, so that they can focus on you very specifically and focus on your very specific, unique needs, as I referred to earlier. That brings us to the final point, and that's number 6, and a bit related to number 5. And here, it's a matter of whether you feel confident in the strategic sales approach of the the representative who is looking out for you in terms of listing your home. It's just kind of an example here, but it's amazing to me how often I've had an instance where a home that I am representing a buyer, where it goes under contract and I have a showing scheduled for that day or even the next day, and I find out about the home going to contract via the showing time system, our showing setup system that we use everywhere. Why not reach out and, as in the example of the home that I started with that recently closed, we had an offer that came in and had a couple of showings that were scheduled for later that day. I immediately reached out to those agents who had those showings scheduled to let them know that there was a contract, and to give them, just a heads up that if they wanted to proceed, they were going to need to proceed quickly, so that they wouldn't be blindsided by that. And so they had all the information. And as a result, actually, one of those showings later that day ended up being the one that ultimately won the deal. So it was a good result for that agent's buyer, and certainly a good result, as I said, for my sellers as well. So just kind of one example again, but do you feel confident in the ability for that agent to strategically represent you, and you specifically? As always, I'm certainly happy to discuss your particular real estate situation at your convenience, so please do reach out anytime. And until then, I want to thank you again for liking, subscribing, and sharing, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thanks so much.